Welcome back to the channel, Bionic Zombie II. We're continuing our massive countdown of the 70s, the decade where nature finally decided it had enough of us. In part 1, we dealt with the heavy hitters like Prophecy and Zoltan. But today, for part 2, things are getting slimier, grittier, and way more crowded. We're looking at the movies that turned everyday pests and predators into nightmare fuel. Let's head back to the swamp! Starting off at number 12 is Frogs. The title is a bit of a lie because it's actually an army of snakes, birds, and lizards teaming up, and despite the iconic movie posters depicting a giant frog eating a human hand, the frogs in the film never actually kill anyone. They just watch as the other swamp creatures do the dirty work. Many of the amphibians famously escaped their enclosures and wandered off during production. Keep an eye out for a very young, mustache-less Sam Elliott surviving this southern gothic horror. If reptiles weren't gross enough, let's talk about Squirm, 1976. A down power line turns ordinary earthworms into man-eating monsters. The practical effects are by Rick Baker, who later won 7 Oscars for movies like An American Werewolf in London. The horrifying scene where a character is found with his face covered by worms was one of the first times Baker utilized prosthetics in his career. It's slimy, squishy, and you'll never go fishing again without thinking twice. Grizzly, 1976. This movie was marketed as Jaws on land, and often remembered as the best and most successful of the Jaws rip-offs. It's about a grizzly bear terrorizing a national park. Directed by the king of the B-movie, William Girdler, and stars genre legend Christopher George as the ranger leading the hunt. The real star of the show was the Kodiak bear named Teddy. Because the bear didn't naturally roar or act vicious, the trainers had to trick him into making aggressive motions. They would throw marshmallows into his mouth, but hold the final marshmallow in the air. Teddy would stretch and reach for it, creating a menacing, snarling facial expression. Day of the Animals, 1977. The depletion of the ozone layer causes all animals above 5,000 feet to go insane. The pairing of director William Girdler and Christopher George proved so successful at the box office with Grizzly that they re-teamed just a year later for the equally as wild movie. It also stars George's real-life wife, Linda Day George. This movie also featured a pre-comedy Leslie Nielsen. Before he was the king of spoofs, watching him go full villain and wrestle a bear while shirtless is something you have to see to believe. Also, look out for Susan back-leaning. She was the very first girl eaten in Jaws. Orca, 1977. Heading back to the coast for something personal. This was a massive attempt to outdo Jaws by giving the monster a soul. It's a revenge story where a killer whale hunts the man who killed its mate. Stars Richard Harris. He was the first Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies. And Bo Derek, star of 10, plays one of her very first roles as a young woman who works on the water. In one of the movie's most memorable and intense scenes, she is attacked by the vengeful killer whale, resulting in her leg being bitten off. Piranha, 1978. If Orca was the drama, Piranha is the fun, bloody version. Directed by Joe Dante, it's about genetically engineered piranhas loose in a summer camp river. Universal wanted to sue New World Pictures for spoofing Jaws. However, Steven Spielberg saw a preview screening, loved the movie, and convinced Universal to drop the lawsuit. He called it the best of the Jaws rip-offs. This was an early hit for Joe Dante, who ended up working with Spielberg on Gremlins. You can see his fun creature feature style developing here. Tentacles, 1977, is Italy's big-budget answer to the 1970s animal attack craze. The film features a giant octopus terrorizing a California seaside resort after being driven mad by illegal underwater sonic drilling. It is famous for its bizarre climax where 2 killer whales battle the giant monster. The The movie features a surprisingly star-studded cast, including John Huston and Henry Fonda, who famously shot all of his scenes in just a few days. If you love 70s sea monster vibes and killer soundtracks, this campy classic is a must-watch. Nightwing, 1979, heading to the southwest for some desert-dwelling terror. The film follows a plague of vampire bats attacking a New Mexico reservation, starring the iconic horror veteran David Warner. While much of the indoor climax was filmed on a massive 60-foot set constructed at the Burbank Studios in California, the movie's real-life animal footage was shot on location at the Bracken Cave Preserve in Texas. This famous sanctuary is home to the largest bat colony in the world, hosting over 20 million Mexican free-tailed bats. One of the most underrated movies on this list, Long Weekend 1978, is a masterclass in psychological eco-horror. This Australian masterpiece isn't about a single mutated monster. It's about a bickering urban couple who treats the pristine environment like garbage until nature decides to return the favor. As the film's famous tagline warns, their crime was against nature. Nature found them guilty. Instead of cheap jump scares, director Colin Eggleston builds an incredibly quiet, deeply creepy atmosphere, where everything from eagles to a rotting dugong gets in on the psychological warfare. Now we enter the B block with Killer Bees, 1974, an iconic ABC movie of the week. This eco-horror gem stars Hollywood royalty Gloria Swanson, star of 1950's Sunset Boulevard, as the cold-hearted matriarch of a winemaking dynasty who commands a swarm of bees through a bizarre psychic connection. It also features a young Kate Jackson 2 years before she became a household name on Charlie's Angels. Instead of a typical TV disaster film, this plays out like a campy, gothic family melodrama where nature is weaponized by human will. Moving the eco-terror to New Orleans during a chaotic Mardi Gras weekend, The Savage Bees 1976 is widely considered the undisputed gold standard of the killer bee subgenre. Starring Oscar winner Ben Johnson, this Emmy-winning NBC Movie of the Week trades camp for genuine suspense. The film's legendary climax, where a Volkswagen Beetle covered in thousands of live bees is pushed inside the massive Caesar Superdome to freeze the swarm, remains a masterclass in slow burn tension that holds up beautifully today. The buzz continues with Terror Out of the Sky 1978, the official sequel to The Savage Bees. This television follow-up doubles down on the classic 70s disaster drama as a new, highly aggressive swarm heads straight for a small American town. Starring TV icon Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. alongside Grizzly Adams himself, Dan Haggerty, who plays a rugged pilot caught up in the chaotic insect attack, the film packs plenty of retro star power. It is pure, unadulterated comfort food, delivering an endless barrage of dramatic zooms, intense synthesizer cues, and serious scientists staring anxiously at maps. How many B movies could one decade possibly handle? The 1970s famously said, "At least one more." The Bees, 1978, stars genre royalty John Saxon, best known to horror fans as Nancy's dad in A Nightmare on Elm Street, alongside the legendary John Carradine. In this bizarre eco-horror entry, the insects aren't just aggressive. They have evolved into hyper-intelligent beings who are sick of humanity destroying the planet. Featuring delightfully over-the-top attack sequences, this campy gem leans heavily into sci-fi absurdity. Moving away from the wings and down to the ground, Bug 1975 is pure nightmare fuel. After a massive earthquake, a species of prehistoric fire-starting cockroaches emerges from a deep fault line. Yes, they literally rub their legs together to set things on fire. Starring Bradford Dillman in a terrifying descent into madness, this grim eco-horror film is incredibly gross, bizarre, and marks the final cinematic work from legendary horror producer William Castle. wrap up our look at tiny crawlers with It Happened at Lakewood Manor 1977, also known simply as Ants. This classic ABC movie of the week follows a greedy construction project that accidentally unleashes a colony of hyper-aggressive, poisonous ants onto a luxury resort, trapping the wealthy guests inside. It features an incredible 70s television all-star cast, including Linda Carter at the height of her Wonder Woman fame, and Robert Foxworth, who clearly didn't learn his lesson about pissed-off nature here before starring in 1979's eco-horror, Prophecy. Next, we swap small bugs for big game chaos and the beasts are on the streets, 1978. In a shocking twist of Hollywood history, this made-for-television live-action thriller was actually produced by animation giant Hanna-Barbera Productions as part of a rare push into live-action movies. Directed by On Her Majesty's Secret Service helmsman Peter R. Hunt, the movie kicks off when a massive tanker truck crashes through a wildlife park's perimeter. This unleashes everything from rhinos and elephants to lions and tigers straight onto unsuspecting Texas highways. This is essentially Jaws on the Great Plains. The White Buffalo 1977 stars the ultimate 70s tough guy Charles Bronson as a haunted Wild Bill Hickok obsessed with hunting down a giant supernatural white buffalo. Produced by the legendary Dino De Laurentiis, the infamous mechanical beast is truly a sight to behold, especially since it roars using recycled sound effects from King Kong. Part surreal psychological western, part creature feature, this remains a beautifully weird piece of 70s cinema. To wrap up our second video, we're looking at man's best friend. From the feline side, The Uncanny 1977 is a delightful British anthology starring the legendary Peter Cushing as a paranoid author convinced that cats are actively conspiring to take over the world. Also featuring horror royalty like Donald Pleasence, this film delivers 3 twisted tales of killer kitties executing flawless revenge plots. If you're a cat owner, this campy 70s classic might genuinely make you sleep with one eye open. That's it for part 2. We've survived the swarms, the Slimers, and Charles Bronson's Buffalo. But we aren't done yet. We've still got the final set in part 3, including giant crocodiles and the legendary Willard. Like and subscribe to Bionic Zombie II for the finale. Don't let the wildlife bite.